Got me feeling right
Again, blasting the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation while appearing to reference a story from Real Clear Investigations reporting that federal investigators directly examined just over 3,000 of the 694,000 Clinton emails for classified information. The president tweeting, quote, "Big story out that the FBI ignored tens of thousands of crooked Hillary emails, many of which are really bad. Also gave false election info. I feel sure that we will soon be getting to the bottom of all this corruption. At some point, I may have to get involved." Let's bring in Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush, and Dave Brown, Democratic strategist and former senior advisor and committee counsel to Washington Senator Patty Murray. Gentlemen, great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
President Trump keeps pushing Attorney General Jeff Sessions to probe Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. Considering the public nature of that criticism, Brad, are you surprised Sessions has not resigned?
No, I think, if anything, he wants to be fired. And it's clear, senators have made it clear, that at this stage before the midterms, it's not a very good idea to let Sessions go, and would only get ourselves involved and give Democrats a great talking point for the fall, because it's up to the Senate to confirm the president's next choice. So it doesn't make political sense. The timing is bad. And Sessions right now, I think, is somebody who's probably on his way out, and that'll come after the midterms, probably by the end of the year. But the president, I don't think, has the leverage he thinks he does with regard to the FBI and the Justice Department, because you can't demand them to do something they just won't do. The only other thing to do would be to let people go, and the replacements I don't think are going to be any more favorable than what the president has now.
Dave, should Attorney General Jeff Sessions resign in protest? And if he did, what would happen?
Look, ultimately that's going to be a question for the Attorney General. I don't think he should resign in protest, because I actually think that he is doing what he's supposed to do as Attorney General, which is to maintain an independence of the Department of Justice from the White House, and rebuking and rejecting the president's attempts at political interference, not only with the business of the DOJ, but also with the FBI. And ultimately, let's be clear, I mean, all of this, why we're talking about this, is because the president wants to distract from the Mueller investigation. He feels the long arm of justice is inching closer to him. Two of his closest associates were indicted and then found guilty this week. And in fact, the president, as part of the Michael Cohen plea agreement, is all but in name an unindicted co-conspirator. So, no, I think Jeff Sessions should stay in office and do what he's supposed to do, which is to uphold the rule of law in the United States.
Unindicted co-conspirator, Brad, you want to take aim at that?
No, he is not. I think that's wishful thinking on the part of Democrats. The bottom line is the president, as of this date, there certainly is no collusion, which was the crux of the purpose of a special counsel, and any prosecutions, any guilty pleas that have been taken are personal to the people who are in trouble. It has nothing to do with the president. Now, guilt by association, David, is not a crime in America. Maybe you wish it to be, but that's not the state of affairs.
Brett, I'm not
currently.
saying that. I'm not saying that guilt by association. I'm saying that part of the plea deal referred to a candidate number one, who's now the president of the United States, and that Michael Cohen was directed.
But it doesn't mean the president did anything wrong.
Directed to violate federal election law by that candidate. So look, the facts speak for themselves. And I think
there's
the broader
no proof
point,
of that.
Brett, I think the broader point is that the Mueller investigation has to be allowed to continue, because really we're not going to know. We're not going to know what we don't know until Mueller publishes his report.
All right, so we'll mark you guys down as agreeing to disagree on that issue. Is there a double standard, Brad, in terms of the president's frustration that an NSA leaker got at least 5 years in prison, and he's saying that Hillary Clinton did not get any punishment?
Absolutely. There is a double standard, and I understand the president's frustration, and he's rightfully to be frustrated. There are two standards. There's one for the Clintons and Democrats, and there's another for Republicans. If any other person had done what Hillary Clinton had done as a government employee, they would be in jail. There's no question about it. She got favorable treatment. The president is right to be frustrated. But at this point, there's very little the president can do. Maybe when he gets another person in as Attorney General, that will change. But I don't think that's going to change under this current Attorney General or this current FBI director.
Dave, is it possible that other presidents have been frustrated with their attorneys general over the years, but just didn't come out and say it?
Michael, I think that's probably a certainty. But look, there's a really interesting historical analog to all of this, right? And that's the Saturday Night Massacre with President Nixon, when he ordered his attorney general to fire the special prosecutor in that case, Cox. The attorney general refused. The deputy attorney general also refused. And then it fell to, at the time, the solicitor general, and then, of course, acting attorney general Bork to fire Cox. And he carried out that order. And so, look, there is a historical context to all of this. And if anything, I think the Nixon case really illustrates in stark relief the danger of a White House trying to subvert the rule of law and trying to direct the Attorney General to do something that is so overtly political and improperly outside the scope of
the president hasn't directed him to do anything.
Well, not yet, but come on. I mean, Brad, you're sort of talking on both sides of this issue.
He's essentially
asking that Hillary Clinton be prosecuted, which is essentially a direction that a political enemy, a political opponent, be criminally prosecuted.
No,
I think that's a double standard, Brad.
The president is speaking to the unfairness. He hasn't directed anybody to do anything. A lot of Americans believe that Hillary Clinton got away with many crimes.
Do you think if he thought he could make that order to Jeff Sessions, and Jeff Sessions would carry it out, do you think he'd order that?
Look, if the president wanted to order it, he'd order it. He has not.
All right, gentlemen, we'll let you take this fight to the green room.
All right.
Dave Brown, Brad Blakeman, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Joining me now, Seamus Bruner, who is Government Accountability Institute researcher and author of the book Compromised: How Money and Politics Drive FBI Corruption. I started reading this about 10 days ago, and it's stunning. And one of the more surprising revelations is how Comey and Mueller appear to have leveraged their relationship to get rich. I want to talk about one instance. So Mueller is head of the FBI, and the FBI lavishes a $1 billion contract to Lockheed Martin, where James Comey just happens to be the general counsel. How rich did Comey then get?
Well, that's right, Greg. He made $6.1 million in the year after that contract was awarded.
And that's what, like a 4,000% increase in his compensation?
That's exactly right, Greg. We're talking about the revolving door. It's a familiar story. Most Americans have heard of it. It's turning your public service into self-service. So here are the facts with James Comey. In 2005, he was worth just $206,000, modest income, modest net worth. He had a mortgage. Well, he goes to Lockheed Martin in 2005 as general counsel and also senior vice president. And by 2009, he's raked in millions of dollars, $6.1 million in that year alone. And just like you said, it's over 4,000% net worth increase. It's actually 4,250% using the most conservative estimates.
Yeah, look, I don't begrudge people who are in government service eventually going into the private sector. They're perfectly allowed to do so. But does it appear to you that then he's, trading on his previous position and relationship to profit financially? And does that strike you as corrupt?
Well, right. I love capitalism. Capitalism is great. It's what makes America great. But this is not capitalism. This is crony capitalism. It's helping out your buddies. Robert Mueller and James Comey have known each other a very long time, going back to the late 90s. So, a man like James Comey, he'd never run the general counsel's office of a corporation like Lockheed Martin.
Right. And
by the way, Lockheed Martin is the #1 contractor in America.
So Lockheed is saying to themselves, if we hire James Comey, we might just, get billions of dollars in government contracts because, Comey knows all the players, especially Bob Mueller. I mean, let me play devil's advocate for just a second. Would it even be possible or conceivable for Mueller to say, oh, gee, I didn't know anything about that $1 billion that went to my pal's company?
No, Robert Mueller, as FBI director, would absolutely have to sign off on a $1 billion contract award. And also, there are multiple contracts that go to Lockheed Martin while James Comey is the general counsel from Robert Mueller's FBI. And Robert Mueller announces them and celebrates the fact that Lockheed Martin won the award.
Well, didn't Bob Mueller also get rich because he leaves government, goes to work for Booz Allen Hamilton, who just happened to have received hundreds of millions of dollars from the FBI under Mueller's previous direction.
Exactly right, Greg. And Booz Allen wasn't the only client Robert Mueller served. There were others as well, but no, you have it exactly right. Multiple clients that Robert Mueller worked with at the FBI. He then went on into the private sector. He and Comey kind of work as this tag team. Comey tags in, Mueller tags out. In 2013, Robert Mueller goes and sets up Robert Mueller and Associates, a consulting firm, and then also takes on clients through the firm WilmerHale, who, by the way, several attorneys from WilmerHale join Robert Mueller on his special counsel, Clinton-connected attorneys, no less. So, right, he does the same thing. It's the revolving door. It's cashing in on public service, and it's outrageous.
So there is, bottom line, a revolving door between government service and big business. And when you go circling around that revolving door, you're getting wealthy off of it, and that's taxpayer money, right?
That's right. And one thing I want to make clear is the revolving door, most people have come to accept it. It happens in the Defense Department, it happens in the Department of Energy. Honestly, we'd like experts from the government working at the contractors, contracting with the government. But this is the Department of Justice and the FBI. This is the top law enforcement agency in the country. These people throw men and women in jail. Martha Stewart, for example, is someone that Comey and Mueller tag teamed to throw in jail. So when justice becomes compromised by conflicts of interest and money, we have a serious problem.
Seamus Bruner, the book is Compromised. Really amazing work. Thank you for being with us to share the stories.